Memories of Shawn Michaels from this period.
Oh, Shawn, yeah. Shawn, I remember Shawn when they were, back in AWA, when there was the world champion. I was just flying in and out, and I had just lost the title, and he came in, with Marty and teamed up, and I would go in and do some shots in and out. So I didn't know them much there, but I like what they did, and so when they came to the NWF, I remember their first day, they went out and got pretty wild, and everybody were these assholes, they don't know how to, the punks, those fucking punks and this and that, they had their reputation, that perceived them. But I remember when I became the model and the gimmick was going really good. I remember Shawn was thinking about switching as a heel, and I thought of him. It was pretty good. He was a pretty smart guy. He wanted to put his character together, and I remember he asked me about it. He says, "Rick, do you mind if I travel with you? A couple of nights. I'd like to talk about the business and talk about what I want to do." So sure. I said, "Yeah, sure, Shawn." So we traveled together. And he was asking me questions about how I did it, and what about his character and certain moves and this and that, psychology, the ring psychology, and we discussed things, and he brought some really good points, and we had some really good discussions about the business, and then that was it. We didn't hang out together because maybe the age difference, whatever, or not that. It was just that we didn't. It was just met each other. We respected, business-wise, but friend-wise, I had my friends. Yeah, it is. And so anyway, so when I left, it became his gimmick, Shawn. The gimmick, with Sherry and all that. And then I remember because I came back and worked against them at the Summerslam in '92, and that was the beginning of was really taking off, And me, it was like a kind of my I was going, because I was split because I knew back then in '92 I invested in real estate in '90, so my mind, in wrestling, in whatever business, you have to be 100% if you want to make it. And me, in 1990, I had made my decision that I was going to go into real estate and buy some property and all that. I had my plan, So I was divided between the wrestling and that. Mm-hmm. So my mind was at 100% in the business. So I was on my way out, and we worked together in '92. And I remember that was his first big payoff, and he let me lead the match. The whole thing was my idea. I mean, he was the kind of guy that respected, he had a lot of respect for old timers, because I was like an old timer for him at that time. We had a good match, and I remember him when we got our payoff. I mean, he took me aside. In fact, it was here at the garden, Madison Square Garden. He took me in the dress in the shower. He says, "Rick," says, "thank you very much." He says, "My first big payoff ever, and I'm all excited. I'm glad, it was with you." And then after that, he became very powerful in the fact that, I remember WrestleMania 10, where he worked that ladder match, mm-hmm. Where he went way over time. I mean, way over time. And it was unheard of back then. I mean, you were told, look, 10 minutes, and especially in the pay-per-view, when you were told 10, you couldn't go 20. I mean, Christ. And you had other guys there. And I remember I was supposed to be in the 8-man tag, or, with Tonka, the mm-hmm. Cowboys and all that. And these poor guys, man, that night didn't go on because mm-hmm. he decided his match was going good. So he didn't think about the other guys, mm-hmm. Me, I didn't care. I was going to get my payoff, and it was probably my 8th WrestleMania, And like I said, my heart was in the real estate at that time also. So I didn't really care. So everybody's, the Macho Man that night came and chewed his ass off. You're a prick, this and that. You don't even think about the other guys. Oh, you think of yourself and this and that. And he had a lot of heat on him. But with me, for some reason, he always kept a really good relation and good attitude. Maybe because of the early time we had together.